Well, one of the big issues on the minds of so many voters across the country is the shortage of affordable housing. And today, the Liberals announced their signature plan to address it. It includes a promise of billions of dollars in financing to build nearly 500,000 new homes every year. The CBC's Marina von Stackelberg has details and reaction to the plan.
In the next 5 years, Canada will need 3.5 million new homes. The Liberal leader has unveiled his plan to try to fix Canada's housing shortage.
We are facing the biggest crisis of our lifetimes, and we are going to build our way out of it.
Mark Carney wants Ottawa directly involved in building homes. He says he'd create a new federal body that would act like a developer. It would place bulk orders for prefabricated and modular housing and hand out $25 billion in low-interest loans to help get new projects off the ground.
There simply aren't enough homes, so housing is just too expensive. Now, it doesn't have to be this way.
The Liberals have also vowed to remove the GST for first-time homebuyers on any home under $1 million. It's similar to what the Conservatives have been promising since last fall.
We will axe the federal sales tax on new homes.
Conservative leader Pierre says he'd take the GST off any home that costs less than $1.3 million, not just for people purchasing their first place.
We will not forget that young 36-year-old couple whose biological clock is running out faster than they can afford to buy a home and have kids.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh wants to ban large corporate landlords from buying up affordable housing units. He also proposes having the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation start offering mortgages.
This is one piece of the solution to keep the dream of home ownership alive, to give people access to a low-interest loan.
This housing expert says taking tax off new homes is one of the least effective measures to deal with the housing crisis, because the average Canadian who needs a place to live can't afford to buy a new one.
I'd say the GST proposal sort of plays to a myth that we can somehow get affordable home ownership simply or easily. We can't.
But that expert says the Canadian government does have a successful track record of getting directly involved in building new homes, just like it did after the Second World War in this country's last housing crisis. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Our next guest is a renter who's looking to enter the housing market. Chris Gazzola joins us from Burlington, Ontario. So we heard from Mark Carney today and Pierre Poilievre last week, both with housing plans. I think you've looked through them. You're highly motivated to see a plan that would help you. Do either of these two resonate with you as a renter?
I think we're happy to hear them discussing these issues head on. The policies themselves, I think to the clip, it was, it's hard to save money to even get that down payment, and the housing costs are still rising. So for me, it's really a question of, are these systems the right ones to get those houses built?
Yeah. We're going to hear from all kinds of different voices on CBC across all of our programs. And you're one renter in Burlington with one, very much like a stake in all of this. And give us your perspective. What do you need in order, do you think, to be able to finally buy a home?
Yeah, I think an acknowledgement that it will take more than just building the houses. There are other factors at play. And I think just acknowledging how we feel about this. We're frustrated. Policies have been tried, and some of them might be good, but fatigue is really setting in. So I think just an honest approach of, here are the problems we're facing. It's been frustrating to hear immigration come up as an issue, and it faced with some denial, in my view, from the Liberals to say that, no, that actually isn't part of the problem. And of course, now we see them addressing that. So it's a little bit too late for this kind of policy to really move me towards that side, but I'm open to solutions.
So I'm part of the generation where we just assumed that if we had jobs and saved, we'd be able to afford a home. And for my wife and I, that is what happened. You're part of a generation where that is certainly not a foregone conclusion. For a lot of people, not even a possibility. What about life to continue as a renter? How would you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be how I would feel. It would be honestly a little sad in some regards. I think I'm 31 now and starting to think about starting a family. I have a pretty solid job, a pretty solid income, and thinking maybe that's the next step. And I look around this one-bedroom apartment and go, a little cramped already. You know, I'm not saying it hasn't been done and it couldn't work, but it is a consideration. And then, of course, that's not even the financial consideration around starting a family, which leads into a whole other slew of expenses that also need addressing.
Let's broaden the conversation a little bit beyond housing. What sort of issues are important to you during this election campaign?
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier the topic of immigration. Myself, I do come from an immigrant family who moved here in the 50s from Italy, and they were able to start a life and have a home and move across the country and seek of a better life and in search of a better life. And I don't see the path as clear for me towards home ownership as they even saw, despite all the uncertainty of that time post-World War II. And of course, as far as other issues go, we look to the South and Donald Trump bringing his own brand of chaos that unfortunately our politicians are still surprised by. They've had a long time to kind of figure out how to deal with him, and they haven't yet, which is frustrating. Yeah.
We're just a week into this federal election campaign. This is a time when political candidates and leaders are listening as much as they can to everyone, including people like you, and you have this platform here on this program. How are you feeling about the election campaign? Are you excited? Are you optimistic? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excited because it's an opportunity to look at change, to look at where we are and say, where do we want to go from here? What kind of Canada are we going to be moving forward? I think it would be great if we decided that we're going to do what we can to open opportunity for growth for people who live here, to focus on our own challenges, regardless of what is happening south of the border, and really own up and say, let's build this country again.
Chris, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Ian.
Chris Gazzola, a renter, and he joined us from Burlington, Ontario.